Welcome, I'm Peter. I've said before, I'm not an artist, I'm a scientist. There's a lot of debate about what exactly science is, but it's all a bit of a waste of time. Science is trial and error, conversing with nature, and that means sometimes being wrong and learning from that experience. This is just as true on a sheet of paper as it is in a big fancy laboratory. In my experience as a theoretical physicist, sometimes being wrong can be just as beautiful as being right. And in fact, there's actually good reason why that's true, which I'm going to show you today by way of example with what I consider the most beautiful wrong theory in physics. But first, sit tight. I'm going to read you a poem. Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all. And sweetest in the gale is heard, and sore must be the storm that could abash the little bird that kept so many warm. I've heard it in the chillest land and on the strangest sea, yet never in extremity it asked a crumb of me. That's Hope is the Thing with Feathers by Emily Dickinson. Yes, I know another Emily Dickinson. I love her, sue me. Hope is beautiful. Regardless of the outcome, hope is beautiful. Physicists aren't poets, right? Nature is the poet here. But her poetry isn't written physically on scrolls hidden away in a vault somewhere. No. It's encoded into the daily lives of everything that exists, the actions and reactions of everything. We tease out her poems, line by line, stanza by stanza, through trial and error, the scientific method. For the theorist, sometimes this is as easy as just looking really, really closely at what we know and making connections. But other times it's much more adventurous. It's using what we know as a base and guessing what we might find if we look for it, hoping to uncover a beautiful truth, directly or indirectly. But right or wrong, the guess itself is usually beautiful, because one thing we know about nature's poetry is that it's beautiful. So we usually guess that we'll find something beautiful too. Then, right or wrong, we're immersed in beauty. Today, I'm going to show you one of the greatest examples of this, one of the most beautiful wrong guesses we've ever made. This is called Kaluza-Klein theory, and loosely transliterated it reads, gravity. This is just gravity. What's that? Yes, gravity is real. So why is this wrong? Look closely. See that little 5 there? Now, if that were a 4, that would be it. This would be the true story of the gravity we all know and love. But here it's a 5. This is because Kaluza and Klein guessed that the world might have an extra dimension, a new direction that you could point beyond just forward and back and up and down and left and right. There would also be like in and out. So like every package shipped, for example, you'd need to specify length, width, height, and extra. Now, They knew it couldn't be something very noticeable. Otherwise, it wouldn't be extra, right? Otherwise, we would have known about it forever. So what they guessed was that there was an extra dimension, but it was very, very compact and small. Like, you know how you can rotate a straw while you're drinking from it? But do you really care? That little teeny tiny degree of freedom in the straw, it doesn't have any effect on its life as a straw. For all intents and purposes, all that matters is the one dimension of how long the straw is, within reason. That's what it would be like. A tiny, compact, extra dimension would be a way we could just twiddle our thumbs. Nothing more. Except for gravity. Gravity would really notice. If the universe did have an extra dimension like that, one that we wouldn't notice, gravity would still notice. Gravity would care a lot. Even better, the gravitational pull through that extra dimension would look to us like electricity and magnetism. In a world with only the gravitational force, but also with a teeny tiny little compact extra dimension, just one, gravity would get itself all twisted up and mangled up in that extra dimension, and its struggles there would look just like electricity and magnetism to the rest of us. It would totally explain away all electricity, all magnets, as just being a quirk of geometry in a purely gravitational world. How beautiful is that? How beautiful would that have been? But it's not. And how do I know? Well, okay. While it would look exactly like electricity and magnetism, there is a catch. The catch is that it would also come with a whole bunch of new particles, like an infinite number of new particles. Particles we know don't exist. We would have seen them. We would have known about them forever. They would have been obvious. They're not here. So, sadly, it's just not true. It's just a guess, but look at it. How beautiful would it be if it were true? 3 of the forces you know and love, all of the fundamental forces that you instinctively interact with on a daily basis, all of them sitting there in their entirety, in a single letter. Just aspects of the same grander, united force. But that beauty, it doesn't come from nowhere. It's inspired by, built out of, the beautiful works that nature did write. As I mentioned, this, with a 4 instead of a 5, this is the real gravity that really exists, and that is beautiful in its own right. The very concept of the primal attraction between all forms of matter and energy in the universe, sitting here in this elegant little package. And electricity and magnetism are not so far off. They are beautiful in their own right, too. Yes, it would have been pretty if Kaluza-Klein theory had been true, but it was a fun read, wasn't it? And what's more, it set us on the path to a beautiful truth. One that looks kind of similar. See, it turns out that electricity and magnetism, they really do come together with another force. It's just not gravity, as far as we know. It's one of the nuclear forces, the weak nuclear force. This is one of the greatest triumphs in the history of theoretical physics, the theory of the electroweak force. So you see, nature's poetry is so beautiful. It even inspires beautiful imitations.